My name's Andy. I'm one of the Photonsters and the kind of chief developer and designer of ESParaSite. Vinicius Silva approached me earlier this year and kind of gave me a lot of inspiration for this. I'm the owner of multiple photons. One of the interesting things about me is that I buy old broken photons and fix them. I've got one that's kind of on the desk beside me here that I think somebody quite literally threw out a window. But other than that, so I was inspired to do this because there's a lot of information that the CBD and the less expensive, or Chai2 based, and the less expensive 3D printers simply just don't tell us. Important things like chamber temperature and humidity. Now we know for a lot of resins they like to be 28 to 30 degree Fahrenheit, so 78 to 80 degrees. We're not sure right now what the effective humidity is, but anything that is absorbed by, or that is soluble by alcohol, can probably also absorb water, and so that could affect your printing times. It could affect the fragility of the resin. So it's just good information to have. As well, it's always great to know kind of what's going on in the room. So we have a sensor in the room as well as in the print chamber. Beyond that, we've got the ability to look at the light. We'll have a light sensor that it's a UV sensor, but it's mainly focused on the quantity of light coming out of the LEDs. And that'll give us a couple things. It'll allow us to detect when the printer's on. It'll also allow us to watch over time if the LED starts to wear out or has brightness issues. So for example, if you start off with a value of 500 and 2 weeks down the road you're printing and your value is coming out at 200, you may have an issue with your LED. The other sensor, or the next sensor, is a non-contact infrared sensor. This one kind of serves double duty because of where it's going to be located on the original photon. I don't know where, I don't have a Photon S, EPAX, or Mars handy. I will eventually, and we'll use those to test as we come, and hopefully we'll have some other community contributions for this. But that sensor will point at the LCD screen and give us a temperature reading. It's important because the LCDs can, we've started to note that, much over 40 degree Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius, I want to say it's about 45 degrees, we start to see failures and issues with the screens. So being able to watch your screen temperature can tell you a lot about the cooling in the environment. One of the other nice things about that sensor is that it has the ability to measure the temperature around it as well. If we use that, then we'll actually be able to measure the temperature of the heatsink, which will give us a pretty good idea of the temperature of the LEDs. The reason that's important is because the LEDs can have their life shortened if they're run too hot too long. And so that'll give us some ideas. Probably the biggest thing that's going to cause heat on the LEDs is long exposure time. Most of the time it's exposing for a few seconds and then off for a few seconds. That gives it, say if it's a 15-second resin and a 5-second off, that's really a 60% or 66% duty cycle, which isn't particularly stressful, but things like the 2-minute or potentially 3-minute initial layers could really be stressful for the printer, and we want to be cognizant of that because it definitely impacts the performance and the longevity of the LED lights. We're also using a real-time clock. Again, that's just nice because it'll allow us to, that real-time clock also has a little memory chip on it, and that'll give us the ability to store things like lifetime counters. So you'll be able to have a resettable counter for your FEP, your LED, and your LCD screen. And then we're going to keep a print life counter as well, so you can see how many hours the unit's been on. Finally, it's going to go down to an ESP01S or an ESP12F based chip. They're extremely common. They're multiple for $10 off of Amazon, and all these things are available off of AliExpress and other sites too. AliExpress is probably your cheapest option, but you're going to be waiting 4 to 6 weeks.